You can go through an entire day in the US right now, touch hundreds of things, messages, videos, ideas, and still struggle to name one thought that actually stayed with you. That's not random. That's a pattern. Most people think their problem is not doing enough, but that's not what's happening. What's happening is this. Your attention is being spread across so many small moments that almost nothing has enough time to become something real. So by the end of the day, you weren't empty. You were just fragmented. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. This isn't only about getting work done. It's about what your mind is allowed to keep. Because if your attention never settles long enough, your memory doesn't build, your decisions stay shallow, and even your own priorities start to feel negotiable. So this video isn't about forcing yourself to concentrate harder. It's about understanding why your attention keeps slipping in the first place, and what most people completely misdiagnose about it. A lot of people leave a conversation about focus feeling relieved for one reason. They finally stop blaming themselves. Good, that matters. But relief can hide something too. It can make you think the whole story is now on the table when it isn't. Because there is another force at work here, and it does not live only in your phone or your habits or your morning routine. It lives in the way modern American life keeps teaching you that fast response looks like virtue. Look at an ordinary weekday in the United States. At 8:17 a.m., Outlook is already pulling at you. By 8:30, Microsoft Teams is lighting up. By 8:43, Slack shows a green dot beside your name, and that little dot starts doing social work on your behalf. It tells people you are available. It tells them you are present. It tells them you are paying attention. And once that happens, silence no longer feels neutral. Silence starts to feel like absence. That matters more than most people admit.
Because now you are not only trying to do good work, you are also trying to look responsive enough to remain trusted.
In a lot of offices, from Boston to Austin, from Chicago to Seattle, people say they value deep work. Then they reward the person who replies in 3 minutes. They say they want thoughtful people. Then they quietly favor the person who never leaves a message waiting. They say they respect boundaries. Then a late-night reply gets read as commitment. And after a while, your mind learns the lesson. Not the lesson people say out loud, the real one. The real one is that quick reaction can buy social safety. So even when nobody forces you to check again, some part of you does it anyway. Not because you are foolish, not because you are weak, because you have learned that staying instantly reachable can protect your place. Now the problem is bigger. Because once attention becomes tied to belonging, distraction stops being a private struggle. It becomes a social tax. Think about how often this happens in plain sight. A manager sends, "Quick question" at 7:12 p.m. A parent at a school district in Phoenix gets 3 app alerts in 1 hour. A freelancer in Los Angeles knows that if she doesn't answer a client before lunch, somebody else might. A junior employee in Manhattan sees the boss replying at 10:47 p.m. and understands the message without a single policy ever being written down. That is how a culture trains you without announcing itself. And this is why some people stay busy all day and still end the night with a strange emptiness. They moved constantly. They answered constantly. They showed up in 100 tiny ways, but almost none of those moments belonged to them long enough to become a full thought. That is the quiet damage. In 2023, Microsoft's work trend reporting kept pointing to the same direction. More meetings, more chat, more fragments, more pressure to stay caught up.
Asana's Anatomy of Work reports have said similar things for years in different language.
Knowledge workers are spending huge portions of their week not moving the work itself, but coordinating, responding, updating, clarifying. The names change, the feeling doesn't. And you can feel that feeling without reading a single report. You feel it when a free hour opens up, and instead of relief, you feel exposed. You feel it when no message comes in for 20 minutes, and you don't settle down. You get restless. You feel it when a blank spot on the calendar does not look like space. It looks like something you should fill before somebody notices it is there. That is a brutal shift. Because once empty time starts feeling suspicious, attention gets pulled apart before work even begins. The day is no longer arranged around what matters most. It is arranged around what can interrupt you fastest. Pew Research Center has repeatedly shown how connected Americans remain to work and devices outside formal work hours. Gallup has spent years documenting stress, disengagement, and the drag of always-on work culture. You do not need every graph to understand the point. You just need to notice what the average person now calls normal. Normal is eating with a phone on the table. Normal is answering from the parking lot. Normal is hearing a chime and feeling a tiny duty before you even know what the message says. And once that becomes normal, a dangerous lie slips in under the door. The lie is that the person who reacts fastest is the person who cares the most. That is not always true. A surgeon does not prove care by texting during an operation. An attorney does not prove seriousness by replying in the middle of a deposition. A pilot does not prove dedication by checking messages during landing. In the places where stakes are obvious, we understand this immediately. We respect protected attention when the cost of interruption is visible.
So why do we stop respecting it the moment the work becomes mental instead of physical? Why do we act as if a writer, analyst, designer, teacher, student, therapist, founder, or engineer should be infinitely interruptible and still produce their best thinking on demand? That answer is uncomfortable. It is because surface availability is easy to see. Depth is not. A fast reply can be measured. A clear mind cannot. A visible status dot can be tracked. Quiet concentration cannot. So, in many workplaces, the wrong thing gets counted, and the counted thing slowly becomes the valued thing. That changes people. It changes what they are proud of. It changes what they apologize for. It changes what kind of day feels successful. A person can spend 6 hours in motion and still feel guilty for not being on top of things. Another person can protect 90 minutes for serious work and feel guilty for seeming hard to reach. Same day, different standard, different life. That is why this conversation has to go further than self-control. Because sometimes the real fight is not between you and a screen. It is between your priorities and a culture that keeps asking for proof that you are awake, reachable, agreeable, and quick. And here is the part that stings. A lot of what gets praised as professionalism is just permanent partial attention dressed up in better clothes. Fast replies, constant updates, instant acknowledgement. These things can be useful, of course they can. But when they become the default sign of value, they start eating the very condition that serious thought depends on. Time that can stay whole. A mind that can stay with one thing. A day that is not owned in 5-minute pieces. So the question gets sharper now. Not, why do I keep getting distracted? Not even, how do I focus better? The sharper question is this: who taught me that my worth rises every time I react faster? Because once you answer that honestly, a lot of your behavior starts making painful sense. And the cost of that answer is bigger than unfinished tasks. It reaches into memory. It reaches into self-trust. It reaches into whether your own mind still feels like a place you live in or just a hallway where everything else passes through. There is a cost to scattered attention that almost nobody talks about clearly enough. It is not just missed deadlines. It is not just slower work. It is not just one more day where your to-do list wins and you lose. The deeper cost is harder to see because it leaves no obvious bruise. It changes what stays in your mind. Herbert A. Simon wrote, "A wealth of information creates a poverty of attention." That line came out decades ago, long before Slack channels, TikTok loops, and the average American checking a phone dozens of times a day. Yet it lands even harder now. Because the issue is not only that you are seeing too much, it is that so little of what you see remains long enough to become knowledge. Think about a common evening in 2025. You read half an article from The Atlantic. You save a podcast clip from Huberman Lab. You answer 3 texts. You open YouTube. You skim a post on X. You glance at a New York Times headline. Then somebody asks you at dinner what stayed with you from the last 2 hours, and the honest answer is, not much. That matters, because memory does not grow out of contact alone. It grows out of contact that lasts. A sentence has to stay with you long enough to connect to another sentence. An idea has to remain in your hands long enough to be turned over, tested, and compared. Without that, you are not building understanding. You are passing through mental weather. That is why a distracted life can feel strangely full and strangely empty at the same time. Full of inputs, empty of substance. Researchers have been saying versions of this for years.
Gloria Mock's work on interruptions showed how long it can take people to return after being pulled away. Microsoft's reporting has shown how fragmented workdays have become. Cal Newport built an entire public conversation around the value of uninterrupted thought. But there is another part of the story that people feel before they can explain it. A broken hour does not only reduce output, it reduces imprint. You can spend 60 minutes bouncing between 12 things and end that hour with nothing solid enough to repeat to another person. Or you can spend the same 60 minutes on one difficult chapter, one legal brief, one page of notes, one sermon, one lecture, one proposal, and wake up the next morning still carrying part of it in your head. Same hour, different residue. That residue becomes a life. A person who rarely stays with one thing long enough starts losing trust in their own mind in small ways. They begin saying, "I know I read something about that. I know I meant to think more about that. I know this mattered to me yesterday." The facts do not vanish all at once. They thin out, they become fragments. Then those fragments stop guiding anything. And once that starts happening, attention is no longer only about work. It becomes about whether your inner life can hold shape. That is a much bigger issue. A student at UCLA can sit down to study history for 90 minutes and come out remembering almost nothing if those 90 minutes are sliced by Instagram, text alerts, and 2 quick checks of email. A pastor in Dallas can read the same paragraph from a book by Dallas Willard 3 times and realize he never really entered it. A young founder in San Francisco can listen to 5 strategy podcasts in one afternoon and still be unable to explain what he actually believes by sunset. This is not rare. This is normal now. And that is exactly why it is dangerous.
Because once you get used to shallow imprint, you stop expecting more from your own mind. You start calling confusion normal. You start calling fuzziness normal. You start calling partial understanding enough. And after a while, it becomes harder to tell the difference between being informed
and being mentally overcrowded. Now take one more step. The damage does not stop at memory. It reaches self-respect, too. There is a particular pain in promising yourself something important and then watching yourself drift away from it in real time. Not because another person interrupted you, not because there was a true emergency, just because the next easy thing arrived and you followed it. You tell yourself at 7 a.m. that tonight you will sit down and finally write the pages that matter. At 9:40 p.m., you are still replying, scrolling, checking, cleaning up, touching everything except the thing you said you would do. The unfinished task hurts, but the deeper hurt is quieter than that. It sounds like this: maybe my word to myself does not carry much weight. That sentence changes people. William James wrote about attention and character more than a century ago, and he was not speaking about phone habits in 2025. Yet the point still lands. Where your mind returns, and whether it returns when called, says something about the kind of person you are becoming. Not in a dramatic, moralizing way, in a daily way. In the way habits slowly become identity. Because self-respect is not built only by grand decisions. A lot of it is built by tiny, kept appointments with yourself. You said you would read for 20 minutes. You did. You said you would think before answering. You did. You said you would stay with the hard page a little longer. You did. That kind of follow-through looks small from the outside. Inside, it changes the temperature of a life. And the opposite changes it too.
A person can be talented, articulate, informed, admired, and still feel privately embarrassed by how often they leave their own priorities unfinished. In 2024, Americans were still reporting high levels of stress and low levels of real disengagement from work in Gallup data. And part of that is not just workload. Part of it is the wear of living in contradiction. Saying one thing matters, then giving the day to something else. That contradiction is exhausting. Not loud exhaustion, moral exhaustion. The kind that comes from repeatedly watching your better judgment lose to whatever is nearest. This is why concentration has emotional weight far beyond efficiency. It is one of the places where you learn whether your life is being steered by conviction or by interruption. Whether your word means something first to you, not just to the people around you. And there is one more cost, maybe the biggest one. A mind that is constantly broken apart has trouble forming a continuous self. Not a perfect self, not a polished self, a continuous one. Your life gains shape when certain thoughts stay with you long enough to change your choices. A book alters you because you sit with it. A grief matures because you stay present to it. A conviction deepens because it is revisited, tested, lived, and remembered. Without that continuity, your days can become highly reactive and strangely thin. A lot happens, very little settles. That is why people sometimes feel years older and not much wiser. It is not that they lacked experiences, they had plenty. It is that too few experiences were held long enough to turn into meaning. Read 10 pages of Marcus Aurelius slowly and carry one line for a week, and it may begin to shape your conduct. Hear 50 clever lines in one afternoon and hold none of them past dinner, and you are entertained, but unchanged.
Visit your child's soccer game in Phoenix while replying to work messages from your sideline chair, and you were there physically, yes, but the moment never fully arrived inside you. Spend one quiet hour with a parent in Columbus, phone off, listening without splitting yourself into pieces, and that hour may remain in memory for years. That is a different kind of wealth. This is why scattered attention leaves such a strange ache behind it. It does not only steal from your calendar, it steals from your ability to let life become life while it is happening. So when people say attention matters, the claim is bigger than it sounds. It matters because it decides what enters memory. It matters because it decides whether your promises to yourself harden or dissolve. It matters because it decides whether your days become a blur of contact or a life with continuity. And once you see that clearly, the question changes again. You are no longer asking only, how do I get more done? You are asking something more serious than that. What kind of mind am I building with the way I live now? Because if your attention never stays anywhere for long, then your memory stays thin, your word to yourself stays weak, and your life begins to feel like a series of openings that never fully become anything. And if that is true, then the cost of distraction is not just unfinished work, it is unfinished selfhood, which means the answer has to go deeper too, much deeper. Some advice about attention sounds powerful because it was written for one kind of life. A person with a private office in Denver, a flexible calendar in San Francisco, a laptop, noise-canceling headphones, and 90 quiet minutes at 9 a.m. For that person, protect your time is useful advice. It may even be life-changing. But move that same sentence into a different life, and it starts to wobble. Say it to a single mother in Columbus, getting 2 children dressed before 7:15.
Say it to an ER nurse in Houston starting a 12-hour shift. Say it to a home health aide in Miami who cannot decide when the next interruption arrives because somebody else's blood pressure, medication, and pain level will decide that for her. Say it to an Uber driver in Phoenix who loses money every minute the app is not running. Now the sentence lands differently. Not because attention stops mattering, because circumstances matter too. That distinction is important. Without it, advice that sounds wise can become quietly cruel. A person hears, "Guard your mind," while living a life where the day is being claimed by rent, childcare, illness, customer demand, and sheer exhaustion. Then the person fails to live up to the advice and concludes that the problem is character. That is a heavy sentence to put on someone who may simply have less control over the shape of the day. Pew Research Center has spent years showing how deeply Americans remain tied to phones, work messages, and digital contact. Gallup has tracked stress across different job classes and income levels. The Bureau of Labor Statistics has long documented non-standard schedules, night work, part-time instability, and multiple job holding. You do not need every chart in front of you to feel what those reports point toward. The right to close the door is not distributed equally. Some people have a door, some do not. And that changes everything about what attention advice can honestly ask of them. Picture 2 Americans on the same Tuesday. At 8:30 a.m., a product manager in Seattle blocks off 90 minutes on Google Calendar and turns notifications off. At 8:30 a.m., a cashier in Jacksonville is already being pulled by a line of customers, a supervisor's request, and a text from school that says her son has a fever. Both are tired. Both may care deeply about doing better. But only one of them has a realistic chance to decide what the next uninterrupted hour looks like. That difference is not small. It means the sentence, "just focus on what matters," can be practical in one life and almost insulting in another. The same thing happens with parenting. A father working from home in Portland may still have some power over his schedule, even if it is limited. A single parent in Detroit, juggling a second shift, a sick child, and a landlord notice taped to the door, has a different fight entirely. In that season, the victory may not be 3 perfect hours of concentration. It may be 10 clean minutes without panic.
It may be paying one bill correctly, answering one important email, remembering one doctor's appointment, and getting everyone through the night. That counts too. This is where a lot of focus advice breaks apart. It assumes the person listening has enough control over time, space, money, and interruption to apply the lesson cleanly. And many people simply do not. A 2023 report from the U.S. Surgeon General on workplace well-being pushed hard on job conditions, not just personal habits, for a reason. The state of a mind is not separated from the conditions under which that mind is being asked to operate. If your sleep is broken by a second job, a crying infant, or a 4:45 a.m. alarm, that matters. If your phone is not a toy, but the only line between you and shifts, clients, school updates, and family emergencies, that matters. If saying no at work in Dallas or Atlanta carries a real risk of losing hours, losing status, or losing the job itself, that matters. And when those things matter, a lot of polished self-improvement language stops being honest unless it says so out loud. There is another boundary people rarely name clearly. Some forms of work are interruptible by design. A trauma nurse at Mass General cannot say, "I'm in a concentration block right now." A fourth-grade teacher in Milwaukee cannot put 28 children on pause because she wants to preserve her mental clarity.
A son caring for a father with dementia in Sacramento cannot decide that tonight will be interruption-free. Their lives are not failing some ideal. Their lives are answering reality. So the question has to become more precise. Not, why can't this person concentrate the way a writer or analyst can? A better question is, what kind of steadiness is actually possible here? That shift matters because it restores dignity. It stops treating one narrow version of calm, uninterrupted work as the only respectable form of mental strength. Sometimes strength looks like long, protected thought. Sometimes it looks like returning to the right task after 7 interruptions. Sometimes it looks like not snapping at your child at 8:42 p.m. after a day that gave you nothing clean. That is not lesser, it is harder. In fact, some lives do not need a lecture about greatness. They need language that is fair, language that recognizes seasons. A medical resident in Chicago working overnight rotations, a warehouse worker in San Bernardino on changing shifts, and a woman in rural Ohio caring for her mother after surgery do not need to be told that the answer is a better morning routine. They may need help reducing chaos, yes. They may need more sleep, yes. They may need different expectations first. Because there are periods when the real goal is not excellence, it is stability. Not brilliance, stability. Not mastery in the grand sense people like to post about, a calmer nervous system. One completed task, one kept promise, 1 hour that does not get stolen. That is real progress. And naming that can actually help people more than another heroic speech. It gives them a target they can reach without lying to themselves. It also keeps us from turning every struggle with attention into a moral verdict. A person can be sincere and still overwhelmed, disciplined and still overrun, capable and still trapped in a life with too many claims at once. The truth has edges. Attention matters. It matters deeply. But it does not live outside money, work conditions, caregiving, grief, health, class, commute time, housing, noise, and who gets to decide when the day begins and ends. Any advice that forgets that is incomplete, no matter how good it sounds in a quiet room. And once you accept that, something changes. You stop asking only, why am I not doing better with my focus? You start asking, what kind of life would make steadiness more possible for me at all?
That question is more honest. It is also more human. Because sometimes the answer is not another trick. Sometimes the answer is a schedule, a household, a workplace, or a culture that has left no room for a mind to stay whole. And if that is true, then the solution cannot end with the individual. There has to be another way people have handled this before, some older way of protecting attention, before the modern world learned how to sell every spare second back to us. There is something old-fashioned about the way modern people talk about attention. We speak as if it were a solo act, GG private contest. You against your impulses, you against your phone, you against the noise. History does not speak that way. History shows something much less flattering and much more useful. Serious communities did not sit around waiting for human beings to become strong enough on their own. They built lives that made steadiness more likely. They put weight into the day itself. They named certain hours. They repeated certain acts. They made some time belong to something higher than appetite, urgency, or mood. Look at the Sabbath in Jewish life. Long before email, long before iPhones, long before the American work week swallowed evenings and weekends, there was already a conviction that one day could not be handed over to endless labor. Sunset on Friday to sunset on Saturday was not meant to be ordinary time. It was guarded time, time with limits, time with shape.
Time that told the mind, the body, and the household, not everything gets to enter here. Then, look at the rule of Saint Benedict around the 6th century. In Benedictine monasteries, the day was not left to chance. Prayer, reading, manual labor, silence, meals, rest. These did not float around waiting to be chosen by mood. Bells ordered the hours. Matins before dawn, lauds at first light, vespers in the evening. It was not romantic. It was repetitive. That is exactly the point. The same thing appears elsewhere, too. In Islamic life, the 5 daily prayers do more than mark devotion. They interrupt drift. They return the day to fixed points. In Buddhist monasteries, from Japan to Thailand, hours of chanting, sitting, work, and meals are not random. They train attention by shaping time before distraction has a chance to bargain with it. That should tell you something. Human beings have known for a very long time that if the day is left completely open, the strongest voice is usually the nearest one, the loudest need, the easiest pleasure, the next demand. So, cultures that took inner life seriously did not merely praise discipline, they gave it a home. And that is where modern people often get lost. Because many Americans now try to build a focused mind inside a day that has no protected edges at all. The average workday in the United States is no longer just work. It is email before breakfast, texts during lunch, Slack at 2:13, a calendar invite dropped into the afternoon at 3:40, and a half answer to something at 9:17 p.m. because leaving it until morning feels irresponsible. In 2023 and 2024, Microsoft, Asana, and Gallup all kept circling the same problem from different directions. More fragmentation, more digital chatter, more spillover, less true separation. That is not the same world as a Benedictine abbey in Monte Cassino. Of course not. But the comparison matters anyway. Because one world says, your day will have fixed points that hold you. The other says, stay reachable and improvise. One world assumes a human mind needs protection. The other assumes availability is maturity. And if you live inside the second world long enough, you begin to mistake interruption for normal life.
A meal in Minneapolis with the phone face up on the table. A walk in Denver with AirPods in both ears because silence feels oddly incomplete. A child in Raleigh saying, "Mom, are you listening?" while the parent says, "Yes, I'm listening," and glances down one more time. This is not only about technology. It is about what kind of day we have agreed to call acceptable. That is why old practices matter here, even if you are not religious, not traditional, not monastic, not interested in becoming severe. They remind you that steadiness does not always begin with heroic self-control. Sometimes it begins with choosing in advance what kind of time will exist in your life at all. A person in 2025 may never pray the liturgy of the hours. Fine, that is not the issue. The issue is that the Benedictines were right about one thing many modern people resist. If every hour is equally available to everything, then very little of your life will stay whole. And you can see the modern version of that in reverse. Look at the rise of focus mode, do not disturb, app limits, website blockers, or digital Sabbath language in Silicon Valley and beyond. The names are new, the need is ancient. Even the people building the most distracting tools now reach for rituals of exclusion when they want their own minds back. That should make you pause, because it suggests the real question was never, how do I become the kind of person who can withstand unlimited interruption forever? A better question is, what belongs in my day strongly enough that I should protect time for it before the day gets taken from me? That changes the tone of the whole conversation.
Now, you're not trying to win a fight every 5 minutes. You're deciding what gets a place in your life before the fight starts. That may be a morning hour in Boston with no phone and no second tab open. It may be dinner in Nashville where devices stay in another room until dishes are done. It may be 20 minutes in Sacramento after work when you sit in silence before turning on anything else. It may be Sunday afternoon in Cleveland that is not for catching up, not for inbox repair, not for background scrolling, but for reading, thinking, prayer, writing, walking, or simply being with your own mind long enough for it to stop rushing. Small things, not small effects. Because once a period of time is named and repeated, it begins to teach you. It teaches your mind that not every urge deserves an answer. It teaches your body that stillness is survivable. It teaches your household what is ordinary here and what is not. It teaches other people too, quietly, without speeches. And no, this does not mean becoming rigid. It does not mean turning your life into a monastery in rural France. It does not mean refusing all spontaneity, or pretending emergencies are not real, or acting superior because you own a paper planner and a lamp. It means something simpler than that. Adults who grow into steadier attention often stop relying on good intentions alone. They start giving important things a place, a time, and a repeated form. They stop assuming meaning will survive in leftover minutes. They stop leaving the best parts of life to whatever energy remains after everything else has taken its turn. That is a deeper kind of maturity, not the kind that can answer every message instantly. The kind that knows some parts of life must be protected before the world barges in. Look back again at those older communities. Sabbath, Benedictine hours, Islamic prayer times, Buddhist schedules, different beliefs, different centuries, different continents. Yet the same human recognition keeps surfacing. Attention rarely survives on admiration alone. It needs customs. It needs repetition. It needs a life that does not surrender every hour at the same price. And once you see that, the standard changes. You stop asking whether you are personally impressive enough to stay focused in a culture designed to scatter you.
You start asking whether your life contains any forms that defend what matters most before your willpower gets tired, before your phone lights up, before the next person asks for a piece of you. That is a better question, and maybe it is the one that stays. Because the person who grows strong in this area is not always the person with the hardest mind. Sometimes it is the person with the wisest habits, the clearest priorities, the most protected hours, the meal that stays device-free, the morning that begins the same way, the evening that closes in peace instead of leakage. That is not withdrawal. That is authorship. It is the quiet decision that your days will not be arranged entirely by interruption, appetite, and outside demand. It is the decision that some time will belong to reading deeply, praying honestly, working carefully, listening fully, remembering clearly, or simply being present enough for life to leave a mark. That kind of person is not impossible. That kind of life is not reserved for saints. But it does ask for something many people have never been taught to build. A form of living that can hold attention before distraction arrives.